Hey guys, Dwayne here. Today I'm going to talk about the narcissistic black hole. I've talked about it in comments and I've mentioned it a few other times in videos, but I haven't talked specifically about it. And I think sometimes people miss what the point I'm trying to make with when I talk about the black hole or the other person, thinking about them and treating them as if they're a black hole. I think some people think of it as, a negative towards the ex, and I mean, and in regards it is. But what I'm really talking about is how you interact with it, how you think about it. And what I mean by that is, a black hole sucks everything into it. You can't escape it. It's all consuming and controlling, right? And that's what I'm talking about when I say treat and think of whatever's going on with your ex, it's like I'm out of frame, is a black hole. And the reason I say that is because anytime you focus energy on your ex or what's going on with your ex or how they're dealing with your kids, that's the net effect. You get sucked into the drama. There's really not a lot, like we talked about recently, there's not a whole heck of a lot you really can do. You don't really have any control over what is happening. And when you go down that path, you just can't escape it, right? And it's a tough thing to do because all of us are going to want to hold the other person accountable. We're going to want some level of justice or accountability, however you want to say it. And unfortunately, directing any attention towards that just makes things worse. Now, I've had a few incidences in the last, year or so where something has happened. I've had I had that immediate visceral reaction, and then I calmed down, right? I basically went to my black hole mode of thinking and I didn't think about it. And then something else comes up which basically drives the thought process of thinking about it and worrying about it and being angry about it. And every time that has happened with me, it starts pulling me down into this pit of despair, or into this black hole, however you want to talk about it, and nothing good comes from it. It messes with my attitude, it messes with my emotions, it makes me angry, it makes me stressed, it makes me frustrated, and the problem is there's not a whole heck of a lot you can do about it, right? You do everything you can prior to whatever happens. You make all your best case scenarios and your best case efforts to minimize and mitigate what they're going to do. But at the end of the day, if they do something, it's just you can't do much about it. For instance, and I've talked about this last year about sabotaging special events. And, and as summer comes up, I'll get back into that because that's something that we need to think about. But what I will tell you is I've made the mistake on multiple occasions where I mentioned to my kids about things that Debbie and I are thinking about doing. And I thought we actually had a pretty good handle on this, but apparently not, because there have been some other things that we brought up with one of the kids. And as soon as they tell their mom, I think what's happening, because it's one of those things where I don't really get to have that big of a conversation about it because it's too controversial is not the right word, but too toxic of a thing or sensitive. It's too sensitive of a situation. But what happens is the other kids mention something to their mom, and what appears to be happening is that she is then like, oh, that's a great idea. Are you going to do that? Have you made plans to do it tomorrow with your dad? Okay, well, no. And then, she does it. Now, I've gotten to the point for the most part where my initial reaction is I get a little irritated, but then I'm like, whatever, I don't care, because I don't want to give her any attention. Even if I'm giving, it's not even that it's a direct attention. I do not want to give her any more of my mental capacity, so to speak, or any more of my time than I absolutely have to, the bare minimum. So when stuff like that happens, typically I will ignore it. Maybe I might have a flare-up, and then it goes away, and I'm like, okay, well, at least I guess I didn't have to deal with it, so whatever. But then it starts this feedback loop of frustration whenever you're trying to reconcile what you're trying to do with your kids and how they're trying to deal with the stuff with their other parent, and it just creates problems. If there's anything that's super important, and if you've already had your ex basically do this, and I know a lot of us have had this issue, is you have to basically hold the information close hold until you're actually doing it. Now, part of the problem is that I thought that there was an understanding and that this issue had been resolved, but it hadn't been. So my point is, and I'm talking in generalities because I don't think the specifics of this particular situation really warrant being talked about right now, but what you have to condition yourself to and what you have to think about is how you can have something basically just flow right through you and not basically stick so that you can get through it. If, for instance, I don't know, there's a new ice cream store opening up in your neighborhood and you're excited about it and you're telling the kids you're going to do it and that you're going to go and you're going to take them, and then because of the visitation, when the place opens, your ex has them and takes your kids and basically ruins that special moment that you were planning on doing. You have to let it go, right? Because getting angry about it, which you will be angry about it, doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't serve it serves a purpose because it gets you mad and it revalidates that you're dealing with a difficult situation. But as soon as you have that part down, staying in that mindset doesn't help you. It doesn't accomplish anything. All it's going to do is make you angry. And then when the kids come back and you want to go do that special thing with them, it basically ruins it, right? So then you just either have to decide to do something else, let it go, move on, or just put it out of your head. Another example of this that probably is a lot more common is new movies, right? You're planning on taking the kids to a new movie and you're talking to them about it, and before you can go, the other person takes them. So you're not really in a position to go again unless you want to or whatever. And even if you did decide to go ahead and do it, it's still going to irritate you because, you had planned to do something and someone else stole it out from underneath you. And the hard part is, or the really crazy part is if you're married, you don't worry about that, right? If you're divorced and it's a normal divorce and a typical divorce where people can co-parent, you talk about it, right? You would say to your ex, hey, whatever new movie is coming out, I really want to take the kids. And if you both, worst case in that situation, if you guys have an amicable situation, you both go if you wanted to. But in our situations, we're talking about parallel parenting or counter parenting, which I still love that phrase. I can't remember who came up with that one, but that was really nice. And you're playing this tit for tat game, right? You're playing these stupid chess moves or checkers moves. And it's annoying, and unfortunately, we can't get away from it. There's not an easy way to deal with it, because you can't talk to the ex, right? Because if you tried to talk to the ex, and they would say, "Well, I wanted to take them," or "You didn't tell me," or whatever, right? They'll use it to spin it around on how you're not doing whatever you should be doing or whatever, and it's frustrating. And the problem is, guys, even if you did talk with them, more than likely, they would still do something different to mess with it or whatever. For the most part, I've talked about this in the past, I really subscribe to my hybrid no contact methodology, where I don't give my ex opportunities to say no. I don't give her an opportunity to sabotage things unless it's critically important and I have to communicate with her. And even then, to be perfectly honest, if it's something that I think I might need to communicate with her, I've gotten to the point now where I will just exercise on canceling it and canceling the event or rescheduling it to do something else at a different time as opposed to trying to have to engage with her, to send her emails and have her ignore them, or maybe not ignore them, or maybe, answer with a flippant question. I mean, it's silly. I mean, I remember a few years back when I did talk with her, and my daughter was, I've talked about the soccer thing before, but the last year that she played, or the year before, the second to last year that she played, the last year she only played a couple of months, and then she didn't want to play it anymore. But whenever she did, I sent all the information to the ex. I'm like, are you going to let her play soccer? And the answer I get back is, well, you haven't sent me the information. I'm like, the first date is this date. This is the teacher, this is the coach's name. This is the phone number. Are you going to let her play soccer? Well, you haven't told me all the information. And I'm like, but it wasn't like, well, you haven't, I need, what, she didn't ask for whatever that specific information was. She's like, well, you haven't told me everything. It's like, what the hell, what does that even mean? It's a simple question. Are you going to let her play soccer? Yes or no? No. But I got into that, that conversation. I tried to do it. I think the last year I didn't play that game. I just sent her the information. I didn't ask a question. I'm like, here's the dates, here's the time, here's the coach, and no question, no information. I made sure that the coach had her information, said, please directly contact her. She generally won't answer me. You'll have probably better luck. But that's the thing, right? That's been my experience for the last, well, maybe not for the last couple of years, but prior to that, the 4 years before that, that's the way this played out. That's the way every incident went. Every communication was at. It was either ignore, or it was, circular questions or circular conversation. Nothing was really accomplished. And it was just a way to exert control and emotional manipulate and emotionally dysregulate my emotions on it. And when I finally realized that, and I finally got sick and tired of it, and I finally convinced myself that there was no getting through to this person, there was no way to fix this, that this is the way it is. I tried for years, nothing happened, and I backed off. And I also, and I've said this before, there were times where whenever she would pretend to act nice, I would take the bait and start interacting with her. And as soon as she was able to get interaction from me, then it would go right back, and it would be basically like a virtual or a figurative slap in the face to re-exert control and power. And after a period of time, I got tired of it, and I don't do it anymore, which is where the hybrid no contact came from. So, all right, I'm going to wrap this video up. If you want to add to the discussion, please do that in the comments below. If you appreciate this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like the channel, please subscribe, and I will talk to you on the next video. Take care, guys. Bye.